All right, how's everyone doing? Lunch good? Good. We still have more pizza. I think we still have some pizza left in the back, so if you all want some, you're more than welcome to get it. It is available. All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue with the vice presidential debate. How we set this format up is the two offices will be up here. So we have in ASI we have two vice presidents. We have one for finance and one that serves as the executive. So on stage you have both of these candidates up here. But before I do introductions, I'm going to go ahead and give a quick announcement. Since we have so many candidates running for office this year, we have about two for finance, 4 for executive vice president, 5 for president. There may be a runoff election. And what that means is, in order for a candidate to win the general election on May 2nd and May 3rd, for them to take office, they must have 50% plus 1 of the entire vote. So if there's a total of 2,000 students voting, one candidate to win must have 1,001 votes to win. If all candidates split it up and no one receives 50% plus 1, the top 2 candidates who receive the votes will go on to a runoff. The runoff elections will take place a week from the election day. So does anyone know what that date is? It's the following week. It'll be the same Wednesday and Thursday, and then we'll announce that Friday. So just keep that in mind. So elections might go into a runoff, if that's a possibility. The 11th. All right, the 11th. And then also know that there's 2 different offices. One's vice president of finance, one's executive vice president. So you have the option to choose from both of those. It's not you choose one vice president, that's it. Sound good? Great. So a little bit about these offices and what they do. The executive vice president is the secretary of the corporation, as defined by the articles of incorporation, and is responsible for ensuring board of directors minutes are accurate and signed, and they record vacancies, absences, and anything that has changed within the corporation. They will appoint and oversee all student representatives to university campus-wide committees. They will be the chair of the ASI Personnel Committee and appoint all student representatives to that committee, and assume the office of the president in the event of a vacancy, and shall serve as the chair pro tem of the ASI BOD. The ASI Vice President of Finance is the chair of the Finance Committee and CAB and appoints students to serve on those as representatives. They oversee and maintain records of CAB awards, expenditures, and reimbursement for clubs. The VP of Finance will provide quarterly reports to the BOD regarding CAB committee budget, expenditures, and any other financial matters. All right, candidates, I'm going to go ahead and repeat the rules one more time for you all. So how the debate will go, it'll be similar as board of directors. You will all have a 1-minute introduction. So that's, 2-minute introduction, my apologies. 2-minute introduction, you have the time to use that to explain what you're running for, who you are. We will then go on to a Q&A segment, and then after that, we will open it up for the audience to ask questions. We'll take a couple of questions. At the conclusion of that, you'll have a 1-minute closing, and then we'll move on to the presidential debates. Sound good? During the Q&A, if I give you a follow-up, you have 30 seconds to respond. And if you want to follow up to someone else's response, you have 30 seconds as well. And audience, when we move to the Q&A, the question that you ask must be to all the candidates. You can't specifically give it to one candidate. I will give them the opportunity to answer that question. Does that make sense? Excellent. All right, we'll begin with our introductions. But first and foremost, let me introduce you your candidates for vice president. Seeking the office of Vice President of Finance from the College of Jack Brown Business and Public Administration, Christy Robles. From the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, Jesus Noriega. Seeking the office of Executive Vice President from the College of Natural Sciences, Helman Pashiniar. From the College of Education, Janet Lilian. And from the Jack Brown College of Business and Public Administration, Amanda Abernathy. Please give it up for your candidates. We'll now move on to your 2-minute introduction. We'll begin with Amanda.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda Abernathy. I'm currently a senior here at Cal State San Bernardino. It's truly an honor to be a candidate, a write-in candidate for ASI Executive Vice President. I have spent a lot of my time as an impactful leader in the Greek community. Served on panel and council as Vice President Programming as well as Scholarship Director. I've also served on my own sorority's Executive Council as Vice President 1. You know, and it's so much more to me than just planning events. For me, I see them as I see these events as opportunities to address issues that affect our campus as a whole. Some examples are, you know, Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. They address the issue of, it addresses the issue of sexual assault and domestic violence. as well as creating, for me, I did get to create some scholarship opportunities. If you guys, some of you that are Greek, you remember my event that I've created called Students First, Greek Second. We're here as students first, and it's very important to dedicate a lot of our time to scholarship. As well as I did recently help start a club on campus. This club is to help prevent food insecurity. That is something that I would want to help our campus address in the future as a whole. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Janet Muyan, and I am a fourth-year liberal studies major here with a concentration in gender and sexuality studies. And I want to be your executive vice president because being part of the executive board of directors now within ASI, I have been able to not only identify the flaws within the organization, but also its effectiveness. And so with that, I would use my platform within office to expand ASI as a whole. So with that, it would be enhancing its diversity and its inclusion, and more importantly, it's how we approach ASI. So making ASI more approachable for all 20,000+ students on campus. With my platform, I will represent all underrepresented communities on campus. With my platform, I will ensure that all students, faculty, and staff feel safe at this institution at all moments, at the Palm Desert campus and when they're here as well. I want to ensure that all professors, that our university police department is prepared in the event of an emergency, and that all of our fellow PODs feel safe when they're here and at the Palm Desert campus. I also want to ensure that if elected into office, that we have our fellow PODs from the Palm Desert campus more engaged with ASI in this campus, and vice versa, just to implement a more important impact of ASI on our student community. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Helman Pashtinyar. Currently a freshman here, majoring in biology to become a surgeon. I want to talk about something. Before I even got on the ballot, I went out and surveyed students one by one to listen to their needs, to listen to their issues. And I found out that there are many issues they're facing, such as security, food, and bottleneck courses. And also parking being one of them. Bottleneck courses can also lead to students not graduating on time. And a resolution for that will be offering that class in another CSU campus being fully paid for and covered by our campus, and having a link on my community where students can easily do that. And just to kind of explain myself, I currently own a business in Los Angeles, and I managed it for a year and a half. And now I have a manager for it, thankfully. And just managing 6 employees under you, making sure the orders are ready on time for customers, it just requires a lot of discipline and management skills. And for a leader, those are necessary. And other than that, I'm a very social person. I'm very approachable. I like to share the same grounds with people, with students. I'm a freshman. Not a lot of time in here I've spent in this campus, but I know a lot of people. A lot of organizations, just advising different organizations, planning events, and helping students out. And my goal is to help you. I'm your voice. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jesus Noriega. I am your ASI Vice President of Finance candidate. I'm a first year on campus. The reason why I decided to run for your Vice President of Finance, the reason why I decided to dive right into it my first year of college, was because I really have a genuine passion in helping you guys' student organizations function with less financial burden than what they already need to have. I believe that student orgs shouldn't have to carry that burden behind their back. And if I'm elected as your Vice President of Finance, I seek to do everything within my power to do as much as I can to disperse those funds back into your org so that you guys continue to operate philanthropy events, your community service events, your workshops, any workshop you want to host. I want to do as much as I can to help you guys financially. Besides from that, at the same time, I also want to create that special relationship with your presidents, your vice presidents, with your representatives to help you guys with that CAP application process, because I know many students don't know about CAP. For the students who do know, sometimes they might find it difficult. So I really want to create transparency with the CAB application process and help you guys function your guys' organizations with less financial burden and function the way that you guys fit.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank everyone here for taking your time to come support all the candidates. It is such a privilege to be here talking to you. My name is Christy Robles, and I am a third-year accounting major. I've been serving at ASI for 2 years now, one as a student representative and the other being in finance committee. It's really been a great opportunity to see some things that we could add to next year. I really want to make it easier for clubs to understand the CAB policy as well as bring more awareness to it. That way more students could go to these events because more clubs are putting on events too. I also want to, although it's not in my finance, I want to create a commuter group where we can really focus on getting more engagement within commuters and really help them get more commuter-friendly events going on. I want to create office hours where this time is dedicated to students where they can come in and ask questions and voice their concerns. So I really hope I can get your vote. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so the first question is going to go to our executive vice president candidates, and then we'll go to our vice president for finance. So this question, as you may know, ASI is known as the voice of the students. How would you ensure that you are capturing the wants and needs of your constituents and ensuring that their voice is heard? But we'll start with Amanda.
I think personally engaging with students on a one-on-one basis can actually be very beneficial. I know that social media and putting things out about our sustainability, for example, can also be helpful to creating awareness on our campus. But I think talking to students on a more personal level is actually, to me, is the most effective way of getting to know what students want and need, and bringing back to the many committees that we have on campus that are actually not as that are not aware of by students. Bringing them back and using the power that I would have to voice their concerns. That's what I would do.
Thank you very much. I believe, just to explain myself, I'm a very social person, talking to students and just sharing the same ground as them and getting their concerns that way. Or another great way would be to table outside and just have students come and just talk to them. Like doing surveys will be great too. I did one before I even got on the ballot, and also just doing surveys online that could also be helpful. And just talking to students and office hours, as she mentioned earlier, it's also a great way to get their concerns and their voice heard. Okay.
I truly believe that I bring accurate representation as a candidate because over 90% of the school, of students at the school are commuters. Over 20,000 students at this university, only 2% are Greek, and I am not affiliated with the Greek community, and I am very proud to say that I can represent the majority of this institution. I represent the majority who are commuters and the majority who do not live on campus. So with that, I will ensure that I do not only, I'm not physically your vice president, but I will ensure that I am also listening to your concerns. It is one thing to be in office, but it is also another to physically go out and talk with you all one-on-one about your concerns, financial concerns, food insecurity. And those are one of the three main things that I really want to focus on if elected into office. Number one, of course, we could all agree on student safety. Number two, student mental health. And number three, food and housing security.
Great, thank you. This next question goes out to the Vice President of Finance candidates. So you touched on it a little bit during your opening statements, the both of you. What are some ways, if elected into office, that you can let students know that CAB funding exists? We have over 120 club and organizations on campus, so how do we ensure that all of them know that this type of funding is there for them?
So during the times that I've been going around asking for support for my campaign during the first few days that I have been campaigning, a lot of organizations that I spoke to really don't actually know about that CAB policy. one of the most effective techniques that a lot of our congressmen use is actually inform the constituents and hear their voices as to what they want to see changed. So going off that, I really want to speak with my constituents, with the presidents and representatives, and inform them that if you apply for this application, you get free money to operate the way you see fit. So really just speaking with them in person is one way that I would really inform that that CAB application possibly exists and that money is out there for them to use.
Well, first of all, I would really like to connect one-on-one with all the clubs. I know there's a campus-wide email when I would send clubs messages, when can we meet, and really go through that one-on-one process of how to apply to the CAP policy so they know it's fit. Overall, I'd really like to also, during the SOAR events and orientations, show them like, hey, we have this CAB funding going on, so students know right away like there's funding going on.
So here's a general question for all of you. This is starting with statistics. So about 10% of students in the Cal State University system experience homelessness, and another 20% of students worry about hunger. And this is all that came out of a study that the CSU did. What steps, if any, would you take to combat this issue? Start with Janet.
One of the things that I really want to make sure we get done if elected into office, have housing and the den collaborate as one, because I have come across a lot of students who live on campus that have to choose between a meal plan or having a roof over their head. I have students who don't have a dinner promised that same night. So also speaking with students, there are a lot of situations with the limitations of only having 5 swipes a week in the Commons. Having to spend $750 worth of money by the end of the quarter when they only use up to $300 a quarter. So in essence, my idea is to either lower that amount of money that we use in the meal plan for students so they are not using it up on useless items by the end of the quarter to use up that money, or have their Coyote One card act as a credit card. So in essence, you would only pay at the end of the quarter whatever you're spending during that time. So again, having the services within the den be highlighted at all times for our students.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Amanda.
So although I take pride in being a leader of the Greek community, I haven't always been Greek. My first 2 years being a student here at Cal State, 2.5 years, I was a commuter. I commuted from Rancho Cucamonga, but you know, I fully financially support myself, and so I'm actually a relatable student that understands what it's like to struggle. I don't have like the support from my parents. This is me, like, you know, opening up to you and showing that I'm a relatable student that has struggled on my own with these issues. And so I think some steps that I would take would just be, you know, I think unity is a really powerful tool. And so just making all students as a whole very aware of this issue and get like coming together and just, you know, taking steps together to better the way we address this issue would be very helpful.
Thank you. I do appreciate, I do agree with what Janet said, lowering the costs and also using the Coyote card as a credit card. The food we have on campus is very expensive. We can all agree with that. And it's not the best choice regarding our health. I do know the person in charge of the food personally. I talked to him many times. He's a very good friend of mine. And we are going to have a new sitting in which will have food. We'll have different food, and also for the Muslim community, we'll have halal food, which is designed for them especially. Okay. Yeah. So I do agree with lowering the costs and like Jeanette said, using the Coyote card as a credit card, and also having the new student union work in favor of the different minority communities.
Okay. So I want to follow up on a couple of things you both said. So you both mentioned credit card, right? So just to be clear, you talked about like an actual credit card in which a student has to like qualify for it, or is it just the way you use a debit card? So I'm going to go ahead with Janet, and I'll have problems. You have 30 seconds.
So currently, the Coyote One card acts as the card that students swipe for their meal plan. So in essence, they would use that card on the zero, starting at the beginning of the quarter, use it for whatever they like, of course, food on campus, and they would only pay the amount that they spent on their Coyote One card at the end of the quarter.
Okay, so it wouldn't be like some sort of like credit?
No.
Go ahead. No. Okay. Anybody else on that question before we move on?
Can I just follow up on something?
So I'm going to go ahead and just move on to the next question, please. All right. So for Vice President of Finance, here's a question for you. Part of the VP of Finance duties are to sit on various committees and boards that provide funding to different programs around campus. How would you go about making decisions when it comes to cutting funding from some of these proposals? Start with Chrissy.
Well, I've been in the finance committee for about a year, so we really focus on the areas of, is this really helping students and who's really benefiting from them and how many students are coming. So I would qualify it to that. How many students is this going to help, and what exactly is the objective of this? And then from there on we could base, should we cut this or should we keep it?
Yeah, actually, I think that's a very good idea. I would agree with that technique. Oftentimes, some clubs who apply for CAB, they may do it for the benefit of the organization. Of course, CAB policy makes it very clear that whatever event they host and whatever event they host to apply for CAB has to be for student population. So if that event is solely for the benefit of that club, I would have to do that.
Kind of a follow-up to that. So if an organization uses it to benefit themselves, right, wouldn't you say that that's also a way that is benefiting students? So in essence, yes, CAB provides funding for all students to attend, but organizations, maybe small, they're trying to build themselves up. Would you not allow CAB funding for organizations that are trying to start up?
Recently, we just had a proposal from one of the art students, and they were a really small club, about like maybe 5 members going to the conference, and it was a hard decision. Well, not really hard, because like they're a starting up club, but we decided to go through it because we know that they're going to bring it back. One of the requirements that we say, bring back what you learned, and hopefully pass it out to all of our students.
We'll move on to another question. So there's a saying, diversity is being invited to the party, while inclusion is being invited to dance. When reflecting on this message, how would you, if at all, ensure that students from all backgrounds and ethnicities are included in the campus culture here at CSUSB?
Coming from a different background, Afghanistan, I recently moved to the United States 5 years ago and been here ever since. I'm connected with the Arab community, the Middle Eastern community, MSA Muslim Student Association being one of them. And I just have a lot of connections, and just talking to them, inviting them to different events, creating different events. As I created many for Muslim Students Association before, and just getting together with them and helping them out and just getting their voice and just making them be more involved on campus.
Go ahead, Jen.
So as I had stated before, I would really want to ensure that we're collaborating with all communities on campus, because not all students are formally represented at this institution. So I would want to create a committee, a strong committee, if I cannot bring that committee to the board, a representative from the Interfaith Center, from the First People Center, from the Latinx Center, and so on, from all the clubs and organizations within this student union. Because again, we have to keep in mind that we do need cultural representation, student representation, representation from non-traditional students, graduate students, and of course, students who come from a low socioeconomic background, which is more than half of the students at this institution.
I'm gonna let Amanda go first, and then I'll let you.
I very much agree with Jennifer. I think that's a great idea. I also come from a very diverse background. I am, for those of you who don't know, I'm Filipino, I'm Puerto Rican, and I'm Scottish. And I understand, I can relate what it's like to feel like some communities on our campus are a little bit underrepresented. So I think that's why I think it would be a great idea to involve the different centers we have on campus and get them together. And have a representative from each different community coming together and sharing their ideas and speaking on behalf of their communities would be very beneficial to our campus, I feel.
But just a follow-up to Jeanette, how would you do that and what would you do?
So of course, I would make sure that I physically approach the students within each center so that, of course, I'm an approachable student leader because I'm your voice. So of course, we would visit every single center on campus. Every single center on campus, off campus, international students, like I had mentioned, non-traditional students, doctoral students, making sure that we are the ones that go to them and we have that transparency with those students and make sure that we're an approachable leader to them and that we're the ones coming to them.
Anybody else? We'll move on to our next question. All right, so here's one. Topic around guest speakers on college campuses has become a well-known headline across the nation. As members of the board of directors, as ex officio, so you don't have a formal vote, but you do represent students all across campus, whether it's CAB or whether it's on committees, and you make decisions on that, how would you approach the funding situation for speakers who may be considered controversial? That's for everyone. So everyone wants to go up first. Janet, was that hand? Go ahead.
So as many of you may know, ASI is student government. And so with that, the funds that come with student government, I will ensure that that we're funding services that are, of course, needed for students. Guest speakers for sexual assault, self-defense. As students and a public university, we do walk around with targets on our back. And I do feel that we also need to have more, let's say, representation or guest speakers as to how to defend ourselves at night between sexual assault or mental health, whether it's housing insecurity or food insecurity. I definitely believe that everyone will agree on the fact that ASI will more than proudly fund speakers to come and motivate students that they're not alone when it comes to sexual assault on student campuses.
Go ahead, Amanda.
So I think we can all agree that these controversial topics are difficult to talk about at times, but they're important to talk about. They're very important to address. I have personally talked to students who have dealt with some of these issues, and although they're difficult to speak on, it's important to talk about it because you don't know how other students might feel about them. It's important to hear their voices and to use their voices to develop different procedures and decisions that could better these issues that we have on campus.
So just as kind of as a follow-up, Amanda, so would you say that if you want to represent all students, you want to hear everyone's voice, would you be okay with bringing a speaker that might not necessarily have the same views as certain students and have conflicting ideas?
I would be okay with it because, bringing a speaker, it's not necessarily suggesting that all students should believe what that speaker is saying. That speaker is just coming to share their opinions and to, being in college, it's important to use this time to open your mind to all ideas and then to develop your own opinions based on what that speaker has to say.
Anybody else? Christy, we'll go ahead and go with Christy.
Well, being in the CAP committee, it's a topic that we come across a lot. We always have to decide when we get speakers and whether we want to fund them or not. So we really look through their background and get information through them just to make sure that they're not controversial, like I said. But it's a hard topic because you don't really know, you can't really define what controversial is. But we really try to get speakers that are helping students and being informative too.
What would you consider a controversial speaker?
Well, like one of the examples happened in UC Berkeley. A speaker like that with hate speech, I don't think should be invited.
Just repeat the question one more time, just to verify.
So, you represent students on the board of directors. You don't have a formal vote on there, but you do make decisions that impact students overall. So, one of the biggest topics is bringing speakers onto campus, and some of them might have conflicting views with students, maybe controversial. So, would you be willing to bring a speaker that?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, like just opening up college is a place where you open up to different ideas and just learning from there. And everyone has different opinions, and not everything is not controversial. So I'm definitely in favor of it.
So if a student group decides to, so you represent them, says, "How no, we don't want the speaker," but other students are saying yes, how would you go about it?
Then we'll take how many students there are who oppose it, how many students there are in favor of it. If there are a certain, so like for example, say 10% who oppose it, then we'll not have the speaker down. So 10% is still enough for the speaker to not be funded.
Go ahead, Janet.
I would have to disagree because I have had a lot of students approach me and ask me about, or more so tell me about the verbal abuse that they face on campus. It doesn't have to be, something physical. It can come from maybe the petition signers outside that are maybe aggressive to students. So of course, I'm gonna go on the side that of the majority students. I said, no, I'm not comfortable with that speaker. The majority wins in my point of view because at the end of the day, it's our students and we have to make them feel comfortable at their own institution at all times, whether it's a speaker or not.
Great, so I'm gonna let Jesus wrap it up and then we're gonna go and get to closing comments for the interest of time.
So I think one of the things that I'm concerned about with inviting a controversial speaker is the student body as a whole. If the majority don't agree with that controversial speaker, what I'm concerned with is if the majority incites a riot between the majority who do agree. However, the value of controversial speakers is that they challenge the beliefs of the majority. If some students don't necessarily believe fully what they believe, if they begin to ask questions about their own beliefs, if they begin to eventually agree with that controversial speaker, it creates a dynamic debate between students as to their ideas. And I think that's one thing that CSUV really values as a university, that are those ideas. So I would definitely be on for inviting a controversial speaker. However, one of the concerns I would think about is student safety for the majority.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I know I said public questions, but we're going to leave those for the president's debate in the interest of time. So we're going to go ahead and do closing comments on all of our candidates. So we'll start with Christy and then move all the way to Matt.
Thank you everyone for coming by. I really hope that you can vote for me. My platform consists of 3 things: inclusivity, transparency, and open communication. I really want to connect with every person in the most genuine way I can. Thank you everyone.
I do want to thank everyone who showed up today with class today, but you guys decided to come here, and I'm really grateful, guys, and I'm privileged for that. I really have a passion for helping you guys work. I really have a passion for dispersing those funds. So if you see me outside after this, if you see me, during the day, if you see me, when I come to speak to your works, please ask me questions, voice your concerns to me. I've gotten a lot of good ideas from you guys, and a lot of those good ideas are what I would take into office if I'm elected as points to approve upon. So please voice them to me.
I just want to thank you guys for coming here, and make sure to come to our next event. I think it's cool for the candidates, I believe. And if you just see us around, just come say hi, talk to us, want to ask your people. And with that being said, voting is May 2nd and 3rd. Thank you very much for showing up.
So thank you everyone, of course, for your time. I do want to encourage everyone to not only vote on May 2nd and 3rd, but I do want to encourage everyone in this room to vote for someone that you can trust, that will represent you in the best way possible on and off campus. So with that being said, again, I am running for advocacy, transparency, and community. So please do ask me questions about my beliefs on food and housing insecurity, mental health, and your student safety on this campus. Thank you.
So I just want to end with, thank you very much to everyone who came. Don't forget, I am a writing candidate. My name is Amanda Abernathy. I'm running for Executive Vice President. I really do want to focus on 3 main things that I want to improve if I were to be elected, which would be crisis management, parking, as well as food insecurity on our campus. Those 3 are very pushing issues right now on our campus, and so don't feel afraid to come and speak to me. I have so much to say about my campaign. I'm around campus all the time, and so I feel more than free to come and speak to me whenever you see me around campus. Thank you so much.
Let's give it up one more time for your Vice Presidential candidates.